Oh, all right, everybody. We are in the final phase of International Podcast Day, but by far, we saved one of the amazing icons of influence until the very end. He is the last, but certainly not the least in today's live stream of so many amazing personalities, podcasts, and just entrepreneurs to an amazing thing. And our final icon of the day is the host of the Growth Now movement. It's the one, the only Justin Schenck, man. Glad to have you on today, bud.
Dude, I'm happy to be on. I think we're gonna have a great conversation. I appreciate you saying my last name correctly because you didn't ask me and you did it right, which I love. Which most people get it wrong, and so yeah, dude, this is gonna be a lot of fun.
Good. So they usually say Schenck. Is that how usually
I
they?
get, I get Schenck or Schneck or yeah. It's butchered every single time. Yeah.
Well, I am honored that I did not butcher it for you. So those that don't know Justin out here, his bio is something you enjoy. Justin is on a mission to teach the world that it isn't about where you come from. It's about the decisions you make today that catapult yourself to who you want to become. Justin has been named a top 8 producer or podcaster to watch in 2018 by Inc.com and chosen as an icon of influence in the new media space. What started as a way to connect with top people and inspire others has become a way of life. Now getting played in over 100 countries every single week, he is able to make a greater impact than he could ever imagine. He not only speaks to organizations how to overcome adversity and utilize podcasting to grow your business, but he helps others launch and grow their own podcast too with www.beginpodcastingnow.com. Awesome stuff, man. And I am, I'll tell you right now, loving the show. Such great stuff on your podcast, man. And what's funny is I actually started listening to your podcast about a month before New Media Summit, before I actually knew you were an icon over there, because I was searching out online for some of the top podcasts. So I popped up, started listening, and then lo and behold, boom, you're here, which is good
Nice,
stuff.
man. I love that. I love that you found me before. And unfortunately, we never met in person. Have I been the only person today that wasn't there this last time in Austin? No. Okay, good.
No. Mark Rocco.
Okay.
Rico was not there, but you guys were from the San Diego one previously.
Yeah, so I was at the first 2, and then did not attend the third one. But what a phenomenal event, huh?
Oh yeah. Steve definitely knows how to put some people together, and really is helping out. He's got a passion for helping people, which is obvious. But you also, if you guys check out Justin's podcast, it's just an amazing. It's easy to see that you've got a big passion for helping people as well out there. So why don't you talk a little about that? Some of the things that are going on, and you're kind of the why behind the podcast.
Yeah, man. So, it's kind of a longer story, but I'll try and condense it because I know we only have 20 minutes here.
If you take 30, you realize you're good, man. There's nobody pending. And I appreciate you coming on a few minutes later because I goofed up earlier, but that's all right.
No, you're good. You're good. And it's been a journey for sure. When I was 19 years old, I used to work for a direct sales company. And I became a manager with that company because I did really, really well. And after one of the summers, I had an employee come up to me and say, Justin, if I worked at McDonald's, I probably would have made more money. But because of you, I'm a better person. And because of the things that you taught me, I'm gonna be able to kind of achieve the dreams that I want to achieve. And in that moment, I was like, oh my God, that's what I need to do. I need to help people achieve their goals and their dreams. Like there was just this inner feeling that felt so good. And I was like, I want to feel that every single day. I just didn't know how I was going to do that. I didn't know what the vehicle was. I mean, I was 19 at the time. Like, what am I going to figure out? Fast forward a couple of years after that, I started a company that we put together seminars and expos that focused on personal and professional growth, and did that for about 2 years until that crumbled and crashed and crash and burn, kind of that true entrepreneurial story. And then fast forward a couple more years. I mean, I was in the corporate world. I was doing well in medical sales, so financially I was fine. But that burning inside, the desire to go help people, it was not being filled. And so I decided to launch a podcast. And, originally it was a podcast that was supposed to be strictly entrepreneurial, strictly business. And about 5 months before that, I launched the podcast. My mom passed away. She had lost a 20-year pill addiction. And I knew that I had to dive a little bit deeper in these conversations. I knew I had to get more out of these people. I knew I had to figure out about self-love. I knew I had to talk about overcoming adversity. I knew I had to give people hope that felt like they didn't have any hope. And that's really what the podcast became. And now that's obviously a longer story. The podcast has been going for 2.5 years strong now, but it's definitely been a journey and a constant growth. hence the Growth Now movement for myself and my audience and everything else. And it's really been about just understanding that as life happens to you, you kind of have to grab onto it and hold on and say, this is where it's taken me. And we take those steps and we move forward from there. So yeah, it's been an organic journey. And now I do podcasting full time. I have my podcast. I have a podcast production company and coaching company. And man, it's been a ride, man. And I just fell in love with the conversations, and I'm just happy to now be here with you and have this conversation.
Yeah, man. It's great to see that. What's been the biggest aha nugget in the last 2+ years for you? What's the biggest aha nugget that has surprised you probably the most?
About podcasting in general or just life? Podcasting, yeah,
well,
man.
Maybe a little bit of both, because I think we podcast on a regular basis. Podcasting gets so intertwined to our life and sharing the journey and stuff that goes on, right?
Yeah. It's funny. I think for me, just being authentically yourself in everything that you do, when I was able, and when I put that into podcasting, right. And I wasn't trying to be a Lewis Howes. I wasn't trying to be a John Lee Dumas. I wasn't trying to be an Andy Frisella. I was trying to be myself. And when I finally did that, and this happened over time, I used to have a co-host who ended up taking a step back. And when that happened and I could be 100% authentically myself, my audience grew. But also when I discovered that, my friendships grew. My connections with others grew. My, the love life got better. These are all things that when I found out that if I'm just authentically myself in everything and not try and be somebody else, the business works, the friendships work. And that has really kind of been the driver the last 2.5 years. Once I kind of unlocked that little secret, even though it's not a secret.
But I think you bring up a really good point. So many people, we get into podcasting. People want to do podcasting because they're listening to other people. Like, I want to be like that guy or that gal. As they start doing things that are very similar to that versus having their own spin on things or their own niche or bringing their own personality because they're trying to be something that they're not, huh?
Yeah, 100%. My least favorite thing is when I'm interviewed on a podcast, you have a conversation with somebody beforehand, and they're like, "Oh, you're like, oh, this person's pretty cool," and then they switch on the record button. They're like, "Hey, I'm podcast guy." I'm like, "What just happened?" Like, you are somebody completely different, and like, let's talk about why your audience isn't growing. We're gonna start here, and then but yeah, that happens all the time, man. Because I think if you're a podcast listener, and I think it kind of benefited me that before I got into podcasts, I wasn't a podcast listener, but like. I think when you listen to a podcast, you go, wow, I really want to do it that way. And then they just try, but they just realize that's who that person is. And that's why I work for them. But so true. So true.
That's good stuff. What's been the biggest surprise from your audience? Have you had anything, like feedback or responses that have just kind of blown your mind? Or they heard something, or you were able to help change their life in some sort of fashion?
Yeah, so I have 2 stories like this. So the first time anybody ever reached out to me that I didn't know who had listened to my podcast, they lived in Japan. And it blew my mind. I was like, wait, what? And keep in mind, my downloads weren't there then. Like, I wasn't doing well, like maybe 70 to 80 downloads. Maybe I would cross 100 downloads every once in a while. Right. And somebody from Japan reached out and it was a broken English typed up thing. You could tell that they didn't feel uncomfortable. They didn't feel comfortable reaching out to me. And they're just like, I just want to let you know that I love your show. Please keep doing it. And I was like, that's so crazy. And that's one thing. And another thing was I had somebody reach out to me and say, because of one of your episodes, I decided not to commit suicide.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah. And that to me, I didn't know how to respond. Like, I'm just some guy trying to figure it out with everybody else. Mm-hmm. And if you listen to my show, I think that what sets mine apart a little bit is that I'm as curious as somebody else listening. I need to figure this thing out called life as much as everybody else. And so when somebody reached out to me and said that, I cried first. Mm-hmm. And then I replied and I let the person know that, that means so much. And if I can do anything to help them, please let me know. And yeah, so those were the 2 big things, but yeah, the suicide thing was life altering.
Yeah. Because I think sometimes we think ourselves, are we really making a difference? What am I saying, being heard, anybody? Yeah. We get the downloads and we see that kind of stuff or the views and stuff like that. But those are the responses that really hit home, that really help fuel the passion. I guess really, maybe because we all kind of get a little bit down, a little slow sometimes, but that really will reinvigorate the passion to keep going forward, right?
For sure.
How's What's the best advice you can give to somebody who's looking to start a new podcast?
Yeah, so this is a great question because a lot of people do it the wrong way. I did it the wrong way. And so what I would take a look at first is I would say, how can I niche down? Because there's a 500,000 podcasts. Every single person wants to do the overcome adversity. Every single person wants to be the motivator. And look, that's fine. You can go there, but how do you then niche down? So you want to niche down into a market because, it's not necessarily, I think we're past the point where you're going to have that next 1 million downloads per episode podcast. There's the Joe Rogans are done, right? So like, you're not going to be the next thing. So you have to figure out how can it benefit you. So I would say niching down, and launching the correct way. That's launching with multiple episodes, having a launch team if you can have one. Drive unique traffic to it day one, because it's a lot easier doing it that way when you're celebrating this big new launch than it is to, 6 months and being like, hey, have you checked out my show? Check out this episode. So those would be the two. Just anybody just getting started is niche down as much as possible and get real specific. And then the second thing would be to launch with multiple episodes.
Really good advice from for somebody out there doing, because I think it's important. I think a lot of people start off with, I'll just throw an episode up in here and there, and I love the idea of the launch aspect of having a chunk there. It really gives people to binge something on to really kind of, because I think everybody's first episode is totally different what their 10th episode is, right? The most amount of learning takes place in the first episodes, right?
Yep. Yeah, and I tell people to go back and the episode I always point out, I think it's episode 5 of my show. I go back and listen to that. It is the worst interview you've ever listened to in your entire life. I promise you will get better. It's definitely a craft that you get better as you go.
Mm-hmm. Who's been your biggest surprise guest on your show that really kind of impacted you the most?
I don't know if it was necessarily a surprise, but a guy named Ed Milet was on my show. Who his message just really resonated, and him and I have become friends. To have somebody who, the guy's worth $500 million. He's friends with The Rock and Mark Wahlberg, and the fact that, he would take time out of his day to now still text me and stuff like that. I think for me, the impact is more of like, yeah, you said some really great stuff and game-changing stuff on my show, but you showed me that you're a real person. That you're not just here to gain a couple more followers onto your podcast and do all those things. So that's probably, to me, was the biggest surprise. I love every guest that I have, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there are episodes I haven't released because I didn't love that guest. And so I love every single one of them, and I become friends with a lot of them. So I feel honored that they even take the time to chat with me.
I totally agree to that. You're always surprised by what kind of impact or feedback you get from asking questions and getting a chance to know people on a bit more of a personal level. And I think interviewing, we're in such a quick, fast-paced society. Social media posts here like that. Nobody's really taking time to have conversations anymore, right?
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Nobody takes time to just to say, hey, how are you? And actually mean it. Because like you said, we are living in that world now where it's like, okay, what's next? Okay, what's next? You're in front of your friends scrolling through Facebook instead of just enjoying your friends. And so doing it this way through Skype or Zoom or however people do it, if you do it through video and you're forced to just stare at the person and have eye contact and do all these things. Yeah, right. No, exactly. You can't do that. Whereas if I was in a room with somebody, I could easily just be like, oh yeah, I'm still here physically, blah, blah, blah. And I think that it forces you to get a little bit deeper. I've had multiple people cry on my show because I genuinely care. And so I think that my follow-up questions are the things that really get them a little bit. Cause like, oh dang, like, wow. Yeah. Like you didn't just want you didn't just want the umbrella story, right? You want to get a little bit deeper. And so, yeah, man, it's that connection's huge.
Mm-hmm. And doing a little research on your guests too helps with those follow-up questions, because it gives you a chance to kind of get through the umbrella story to the really good shit, right? The really good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And it's funny, I don't do a ton of research beforehand because I don't want to know too much, because I like to have emotion when I have the conversation. But what I will do, and this is a great tip for podcasters, I'll listen to snippets of their shows that they've done with other people, not the whole thing, just snippets, and I'll look for what the podcaster missed. So I'll give you an example. There's a guy who played in the NFL who would mention, he was on another podcast I listened to, and he had mentioned something about his childhood and how like, oh yeah, I grew up in this blah, blah, blah. And it wasn't the greatest thing. And the dude just breezed right over and was like, yo, so let's talk about the NFL training. And it's like, yo, man, like you just missed that. And so that's where I went when I interviewed the person. So those are the things that I do to just take it a step further, to go a little bit deeper. So I'll look for the things other interviewers miss.
That's critical out there. Where do you see, what goals do you have for your show over the next 12 months for 2019, Justin?
Yeah, man, great question. So, my show's numbers are pretty good for some guy in Reading, Pennsylvania. Of course, everybody wants their audience to grow and get to the next level, but that's not really a huge thing for me right now. I mean, obviously, it's the Growth Now movement. So it's always been my goal to create a movement, to create a group of people who understand each other, who help each other, who lift each other up. And I think the best way to do that is in person. And so in May of 2019, I actually have a live event coming up, which I'm so freaking excited about. It's something that I've had in my brain for 2.5 years. And now it's coming to fruition with celebrity speakers and all this other stuff. And just really, really excited. Growth Now Movement Live is the event. And not all the announcers are announced yet. I'm excited to announce them over the next couple of months. But the last one I just announced was Albie Manzo from Real Housewives of New Jersey. Just game-changing people in the business space. The next person I'm announcing is actually a week from today. I'll be announcing her. So there's a little hint as to who it might be, and just really excited, man, because I've really kind of been on this mission to help people get to the next level, and I think a live event's kind of the next thing. And the way that I'm describing it to people, it's a day-long rock concert for entrepreneurs, forward thinkers, and people looking to level up in their life. And so just really, really excited to bring that here to Reading, Pennsylvania.
Nice, good stuff, man. I'm looking forward to that. You have a date for that in May?
Yeah, it's May 31st. If any podcasters are interested, if they buy a VIP ticket, they'll have access to a podcast mastermind the day before the event. Yeah, man. So super, super excited about it. If people go to gnmlive.com, they can see all the information, grab tickets, so on and so forth.
Good stuff, man. Well, we're glad to help you promote that out there as well. I think all the icons will be glad to help out with that for you, man.
Yeah, it'll be a fun event. That's one thing I promise. It'll be a fun event and a game changer for sure.
Good stuff, man. What's the best way for those listening or watching this here to reach out to you?
Yeah, so they can go, obviously search for the podcast, Growth Now Movement, wherever you listen to podcasts. I appreciate anybody listening. I feel honored that anybody tunes in. And so I appreciate that. If they want to reach out to me, chat, if they want to start a podcast and they want to get into, and they don't want to deal with the production or they need coaching throughout, they can email me, justin@growthnowmovement.com. And then any podcaster that is looking to grow their audience or even fix what they've already messed up, I actually just launched an online course and mastermind. So if they go to launchfixgrow.com, they'll get the course and the first 30 days in the mastermind for free. So something super exciting that I've been working on building out for many, many months with a good friend of mine, Adam Shively, who's also an icon of influence at the last New Media Summit. And just really, really excited to have that out there. So if anybody's interested, it's free. So go check it out.
Awesome. Those are some great gives there, Justin. Holly says, wow, this goes back to one of the stories. That's a brilliant impact, Justin. Christina says, just added your station on Stitcher to listen to you, to download it. That's some great stuff out there. Justin, I couldn't think of a better icon to wrap up the day with, man. So thank you so much for sharing. Thanks for being here, and looking forward to working with you in the future on some other things as well too, man.
Yeah, brother. Let's definitely stay in touch. I know we haven't had a ton of time to catch up, so hopefully this week or next week we can catch up. And just thank you so much for doing this, man, and bringing awareness to this incredible platform that you and I have the honor to do every single week. And just thank you so much.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. It's been an honor, man. It's been easy to do with so many great people. Kelly Hooker says, hi, Justin. Hey, Justin. She says out there.
Hey, Kelly. How are you?
Good stuff. Thanks so much, man. Appreciate it. We'll definitely be in touch, and we'll go from there. All right, Chief?
Sounds good, man. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thanks, bud. Appreciate
it, bud.
Yep. All right, guys and gals. I just want to say thank you to everybody that hung around. Thanks, Holly. Thanks for the kind words. Awesome, good stuff. If you guys could do me a huge favor, those are still watching, those are watching the replays, please do me a huge favor. Hit share on the Facebook Live or watching there. If you're watching this here on Zoom, thank you so much. Do me a favor, check out my personal Facebook feed or any other ones that we've done out there. Check out all the icons. I can tell you this from hanging with them, all of them are great individuals who have a big heart for sharing. Yeah, drum roll, please, to making it to the very end is probably a good idea. Thanks, man. I appreciate everybody. A couple big nuggets, I think, from everybody out there. Stick to yourself. Stick to what you know. Stick to your gut. Stick to your true center on that. You'll be a lot happier. Obviously, I think you heard from everybody out there. Just go do it. Reach out. Start filming. Start recording. Don't be afraid to reach out to experts or other podcasters, because this is such a great community of people that are giving of their time and their energy to help you really do some amazing things. So I know that we could not do this day without some amazing individuals out there from the start. Big thanks to everybody that was a guest. Big shout out to Steve Olsher for New Media Summit, Kelly Poker, everybody out there, and go there. Yes, as Kelly says, and go to New Media Summit to get booked on these podcasters show now. Exactly right. Check it out. Great event. Next one is in Orlando in February. Trust me, if you're looking to get booked on shows or start a podcast, it's definitely a great place to go. Tampa, my apology, not Orlando. Everything else is going on in Orlando podcasting, but in Tampa, thank you, Kelly. It's well worth the ticket price. Trust me, just an absolutely great event, and you won't be disappointed as well. There, Steve and his whole staff are just doing an amazing job of helping support podcasters, get things rock and roll on. And trust me, the pre-event coaching is phenomenal to help you get your pitch ready to rock and roll. So once again, to everybody out there, thank you so much for all our guests, all our listeners, all those that have shared. Thank you so much for making International Podcast Day 2018 a success. And we look forward to seeing you all at the top, everybody. Have a great evening. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday night. We'll see you all later. Bye.